So did you have any moments, we talk about on the channel, Make Them Tell You No, where it's basically somebody's going to tell you you can't do it, or you're going to tell yourself you can't do it. Do you have any moments in your career where, you had to overcome either self-doubt or somebody who knew nothing telling you can't do it to become what you've become today? Have you had any,
Yeah, no, I think every day, Mover, is defined by what you do
Yep.
when it doesn't go your way.
Yep.
So, it's, every day the world's going to tell you no.
Yep.
And it's, how you react to those moments that will define your legacy.
Well,
and I always use this analogy, and I love it. An airplane takes off into the wind for a reason, right? It has to have resistance in order to ascend. And our lives are no different. And so often people, when they run into struggle and this resistance, I think that, God's trying to keep them down. Why me? This woe is me, defeatist attitude. And reality those are the moments that lift us up.
absolutely.
And I think to a person, if there was a quality in the, in the fighter pilot business, it's armadillo skin, because we're one of the few places left in the world where they tell you the truth. Not what you want to hear.
Absolutely.
And they don't do it in the feedback sandwich either. Well, you just did this so well. You
no,
work on
no
this,
coddling.
You did this so well.
Yeah.
Excellence is expected and rarely ever recognized.
Yeah.
In any area that falls short, we're gonna debrief to the fullest. So you get used to that in our business. I think just by the nature of what it is.
Yeah.
You're gonna struggle, but you can look at those struggles as something that ultimately motivate you to get better. And so, heck yeah, brother, all the time. We can talk about folds of honor here in a minute, but that's, you want to talk about a story that's, everybody and their brother that has and was telling me no, starting this thing from nothing.
Well, that is absolutely. That was actually the next thing, because you talk about legacies and you talk about a higher purpose. Your story for starting Folds of Honor, which ever since I've met you, ever since I've been in the squadron, I've become a big supporter of. I didn't know much about before, joining the 301st, but having seen some of the things you've done and some of the things, when we went to the NASCAR race, did that flyby. It's kind of opened my eyes to a different world. So tell that story. A lot of people may not have heard it, which, by the way, the link's in the description, foh.org. If you want to check that out, that's a good thing. We've done some charity work on the channel, but how did Folds of Honor come about?
We have come a long way in 12 years since I started Folds above my garage. And
as any great business does, right? They all start in your garage and then they end up.
Yeah, you start with one subscriber, and here you are with 200,000.
Yeah.
And you're not in your garage, but you're in your home office. So.
No, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So above my garage was my home office.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I call them moments of synchronicity, but these just these divine interventions in our life. And if you're watching and you're inspired to take action, that's when synchronicity can be life changing. So often we're inspired and we do nothing with it, right? But thank God in this case I did, and I just gotten back from my second tour of duty in Iraq, flying the mighty Viper.
Yeah,
and
best jet ever.
I have best jet ever. It is. Yeah. And I was going to my other job as a golf pro.
Oh, wow.
And I had to commute. So I was living in Tulsa and I was working in Michigan. And so I'm commuting through Chicago here, Tulsa, Chicago here, Chicago, Grand Rapids. It's a crappy night. I've gone from beer to coffee. Finally get on the flight. And as I'm walking through first class, there's a corporal in dress army greens. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think much of it. And I press on back to coach. And about midnight, we finally land in Grand Rapids. And as we're pulling up to the gate, the captain comes over the PA and announces that we're carrying the remains of Corporal Brock Buckland, who'd been killed in Iraq, and his identical twin brother, Corporal Brad Buckland, is in first class and has, brought him back. Captain makes another request, and everybody stay in their seats until Brock's remains had been removed from the right cargo hold.
Yep.
And, that's one of the things too. I mean, you're going to go to combat. You've been there. You see stuff that's terrible.
Yeah.
But it's in theater. And I sat on the right hand side of the airplane that night, and I watched the family on the darkest, moment of their lives. And his brothers are out there, his parents, his wife, his 4-year-old son, and
Ooh.
Brock's American flag draped coffin is inching from the cargo hold.
Yeah.
And that moment really
Yeah. I
hit
mean,
me in a very different way than combat ever had, in the finality of the
it's
sacrifice.
real. That's the real reality of it. Yeah. That's,
Yeah. And the triangle you got on your shirt and the triangle I got on mine, freedom ain't free, right?
yeah.
And so ceremony finishes itself up, and I pick up my backpack and I stand up, and over more than half the people are gone.
Oh, wow.
Right. So they've completely ignored the captain's request to stay in their seats, because now it's 12:45 the next morning and they got to go brush their teeth and climb under that blanket of freedom that 0.5% of this country
Yeah.
provide for the other 99.5%. And I will tell you, that was the most angry, disappointed
Yeah.
moment I've ever been as an American. I was just disgusted. And I'm walking off the airplane, and the only thing I know for certain in my life is, there was a hand on my shoulder that night, and it was the hand of God. And He picks the least among us, but He picks the willing, and the able. And I knew with every fiber of my being that this is what I was supposed to do. And so, God drops this in my lap. And up until that point, I will tell you, I was a pretty average guy.
Yeah.
I was, golf pro, fighter pilot,
Golf
but
pro. Yeah.
but I was, just as like, the walk of life. I wasn't
Yeah.
a bad person, but
Right.
I stayed at the squadron bar too late. I was cross country. I was playing golf. I was having a lot of me time.
Yeah.
Just leave it at that, right. And I got a wife and I have kids. And this whole thing for me, it's like, Proverbs 27, iron sharpens iron, is one man sharpens another. This thing has just changed me in so many good ways over the last 12 years. But so, where do you start?
Yeah.
So I wanted to help this kid's 4-year-old son get an education, because I think that was my greatest fear. If anything ever happened to me, who would take care of my wife and my kids? And so he hosted this little golf tournament at the golf course in Michigan. And I'll tell you a fun story. Remind me to tell you the story of American Dunes after this,
Okay.
because I'm gonna be with Jack Nicklaus on Friday and Saturday up there. But
Oh, that's so cool.
so we raised like $8,000, and I looked around at other military foundations to like give the money to, and I couldn't even get anybody to call me back.
Yeah.
I'm like, screw this. And there wasn't anybody that did exactly what I wanted. I wanted to take care of the spouses and the kids and their education.
All right.
And so I'm like, what the heck? I'll start my own. And so I started above my garage, and I ended up giving that $8,000 away, and came up with a concept called Patriot Golf Day. And my idea was, let's have golfers across America tee it up and donate at least an extra dollar when they play.
Oh, cool.
And so I contacted the president of the PGA of America, so the largest sports organization.
Wow.
And they called me back, and I said, here I'm this dude above my garage, and here's what I'm trying to do. And
Wow.
it's like, it's against all odds, right? And they believed in me. There was, massive struggles along the way getting this thing going. I was the janitor and the founder, and all by myself on my computer with nothing. And that that summer, the more synchronicity, the PGA Championship happened to be here in Tulsa. And I took David Faraday up on an F-16 ride, and CBS Sports did a big special and covered it. And we kicked this thing off like 4 weeks before Labor Day, which was when Patriot Golf Day was, because that was the next big golf holiday.
Yep.
Like, why not Memorial Day? Because I was
Golf.
putting this thing out, making it up as I go. Right? All right, Labor Day holiday. It's after the PGA Championship, and so we signed up like 3,300 golf courses. So you have to register your golf course to participate. And anybody out there that's plays golf or is affiliated, patriotgolfday.com, and make sure your local golf course is signed up. You can find a golf course that participates, coming up over Labor Day weekend again this year. But that first year we signed up over 3,000 courses and we raised $1.1 million.
Oh, wow.
Out of the gate. I'm still above my garage, dude. It's just me. And the mail guy starts coming to my house with like bags of mail because people are sending in the donation. And he was like, what are you doing? Are you like running a drug house here, or what has happened? But that's how this thing, morphed. And, we've raised or given away about $130 million since we started, and to the tune of 25,000 scholarships to spouses and kids who've had somebody killed or disabled in Iraq or Afghanistan. And, from those humble beginnings, we've got a NASCAR race that Quick Trip and Coca-Cola sponsor.
Yep.
And, we work with brands from, Budweiser to Rite Aid to Delta to Southwest. We're the official military charity for the NBA.
Wow.
And Major League Baseball. It is just incredible. And it's just been a biblical journey.
Wow.
And we continue, right?
So one of the comments says, just finished your book today. Why don't you tell us about your new book? Didn't you?
He didn't finish that book
not
today.
Book. So you have a book, and now you've got one coming out, right?
I'm not quite caught up to you, Mover, but and there are not many fighter pilots that are even capable of writing a book. Not true.
In crayon.
Most
usually a crayon or Sharpie or whatever. It's tough.
Yeah. I would say most fighter pilots I've met could run a small country if they weren't, busy flying fast jets. It's an impressive group of people, unlike any I've ever been around. But so my first book was A Patriot's Calling: Living Life Between Fear and Faith, and you can get that on any of them out there: Amazon, Books A Million, Apple Books. It's available in audio version.
Oh, cool. Did you read it?
Well,
are you the narrator?
I read it.
I
read it. The most painful thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah.
With 2 people watching you, 2 people listening in New York City. And when you talk like a redneck Oklahoma dude, like I do, and they're like, yeah, you got to do that sentence again. You need to do that again. It was a 2-day, 10-hour long, both days process, and then go back in for a re-record.
Oh no.
And I'm getting ready to fire back up. So that one, that was pretty fun. It was like, it's like everything. I wrote that book and nobody would publish it. And so I self-published the thing, and I sold about 40,000 copies of that book with zero marketing, no website, and just strictly word of mouth. People that would buy it, and they'd call up and they'd order it, and I would answer the phone. They were like, what? Yeah, I'm sending them to the end of my garage, dude. How many do you want?
That garage, man, it's getting some mileage. I
know. I want 1,000 books out of your garage. But it was just, it's the can-do spirit. And so that one, and but I went through, and I think, you alluded to this before, but I went through this process, which we've distilled into the last 20 minutes here. I went to a really hard period for 10 years, a lot of struggle every day. I built a golf course in 2008 here called the Patriot Golf Club in Tulsa. So, went through all of that. I woke up for 6 years of my life going bankrupt every day.
Yeah. 2008's a rough time for, it's like now, essentially what's happening now.
Yeah, but we're going to come back from this.
Yes.
We're going to come back from this one. But it's hard now too, but that and just, some other struggles. Again, details aren't important, but I've journaled these struggles and it basically distilled down over a 10-year introspection of, getting my balls kicked in, was what you can control in an uncontrollable world. When your world around you is an unsolvable problem, you have to build this kind of hyper-focused, insular code of living for me.
Yep.
And I called it CAVU.
Oh,
So that was my code of living. And we
yeah.
know this is a fighter pilot term. If you guys don't know what it means, it's an acronym, stands for ceiling, invisibility, unlimited, or unrestricted, either one.
Yep.
But it's the perfect day to go fly. It's my favorite color. People ask me my favorite color. Cavu.
Cavu.
It's that light blue, perfect sky. So this book coming out, um, the title is Fly into the Wind, How to Harness Faith and Fearlessness on Your Ascent to Greatness.
Wow.
And this book is all about the struggle. And I came up with, in my own little world, my own little code of living, there were 12 lines of effort, or tenets that I execute every day. And I put those together in with stories of my own life, but I was able to weave in just epically better examples than me of people that emulate
Oh, that's
these
good.
characteristics.
Yeah.
And whether it's President Bush 41,
Who
whether
you've met, correct? You've met.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know the
Yeah.
Bushes very well, very well. And President Bush 43 is going to help me launch. The book comes out. This
Wow.
one comes out November 17th. So I'm launching in the holiday season. So with all the big boys. But it is, man, it's going to change a lot of lives.
Good.
It
Yeah.
really is. And it's all about finding, it's all about getting better and not letting the challenges of life derail your incremental process on a daily basis. And the number one regret on people's deathbed mover is they wish they'd lived a life true to themselves, not the life that others expected of them. That's the
Absolutely.
number one regret on people's deathbed. And this book is a paint by numbers to
Awesome.
go and write your own job description of life
Wow.
and have the reckless faith to do that. It's a very faith forward book. That's a big part of my life.
Someone
It's
asked,
just,
can you
that's
pre-order
where
it now? Is it available for
yeah,
pre-order?
yeah. So you can go to my website, which is danrooney.com. That's an easy one, danrooney.com, and the book's up there, and you can pre-order on all the the usual suspects, Amazon and Books a Million, and and the publisher's HarperCollins, which
So you
is
got a
really
publisher
cool.
now. So you're
Oh
not,
yeah, to
it's
go
not your
from nobody
garage.
publishing it to the oldest, largest
Yes.
publishing house in the world.
Nice.
And so yeah, HarperCollins is publishing, and they've been amazing. And I learned so much about writing, and that process was brutal.
Oh yeah.
and
Editing's the worst.
and all consuming. And they really pushed me, but it was one of the coolest comments that I've gotten. This was a few weeks ago. I've got a couple galley copies just the other day, and my editor called me and he was like, brother, he's like, we've circulated your manuscript around HarperCollins, and to a person, they said nobody's ever read anything like it.
Nice.
And it is, it's perfectly broken. And I'll tell one, because we got fighter pilots.
Yeah, we gotta have some fighter pilot stories on this.
Yeah, so this is a cool analogy, and my last chapter is called Broken Wings. And when you get your set of wings, when you go off to pilot training, the very first set, these beautiful polished wings, it's like the greatest day of your life. And honestly, for me, I mean, my wife was here; she wouldn't care. We've been married for 21 years. I mean, it was better than my wedding.
Yeah,
it was. I mean,
it's a big day.
I mean, it's just such a massive day.
Yeah.
But you take your first set of wings and you promptly break them in half, snap them in half, never to be put together again. Out of respect and humility for the business that we're in, and you give the other half to your closest confidant, and that is still to me. I gave my other half to a guy named Spike Kelly, who was my instructor pilot there. He was a Viper guy punched out in Iraq, so he's a famous dude.
Yeah,
he was my IP and still one of my dearest friends and in life. But again, it's the premise of our brokenness is our most perfect form.
Yep.
And we live in this world where everybody's trying to hide their mistakes.
Yep.
Right. Everybody's so afraid of messing up. And at 47, when I meet somebody now, I'm like, I do not care one bit what you've accomplished. Tell me what you've overcome.
Absolutely.
And our wounds are where the brightest light of God shines through, and
Yep.
own it.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and it's just really cool. So enough about that. But
No,
yeah, you
that's
can
awesome.
fly into the wind, and I wish I'll send you a copy of the cover. Is
Oh
just
yeah.
unbelievably cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Excuse me. Oh, no. Oh!
About a lot of that. Usually fire with the doors off. All Fox Kids. Don't be a douche. That's rule number 1.
Make them tell you no.